a plaything, in other words. A child breaks so many dolls without real endeavor. Similarly, although a demon may be very powerful and extraordinary in the eyes of an ordinary man in the material world, to the Lord, killing such demons is no difficulty. He can kill millions of demons as simply as a child plays with dolls and breaks them. Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, I have explained to you the personality of Godhead is coming down as the first boar incarnation and killing in a great fight a demon of unprecedented prowess as if he were just a plaything. This has been narrated by me as I heard it from my predecessor, spiritual master. So this proves that we should not read comic books. Comic books will not teach us anything of lasting value, but we should hear this knowledge of Krishna's transcendental pastimes from devotees. And of course, we can also read it from the Shastra. So that's the way to learn, not hearing or reading comic books. You don't really learn much from the comic books, but you can learn a lot from the verses and especially the purports, Srila Prabhupada's purports of the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So it says here, I'll just read it one more time. Here, the sage Maitreya admits that he explained the incident of the killing of Hiranyaksha by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a straight narration. That means word for word, the same thing that he heard from his guru, he repeated. Maitreya repeated to Vidura. So therefore, Vidura heard the killing of the demon Hiranyaksha word for word, without any alteration, subtraction, or addition to the narratives. And that's why it's probably saying that the incident of killing of Hiranyaksha by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a straight narration. And no additions or subtractions of the original pastime. He did not manufacture anything nor add interpretation, but explained whatever he had heard from his spiritual master. Thus, he accepted as bona fide the system of parampara, of receiving the transcendental message in disciplic succession, unless received by this bona fide process of hearing from a spiritual master, the statement of an acharya or preceptor cannot be valid. It is also stated here that although so when it says it cannot be valid, that means, there's so many comic books on the pastimes of the Lord and other people. And then there's also unbonafide so-called speakers on the subject. So we shouldn't hear from such people, and we shouldn't read books by such people. We should just stick to the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and Srimad Bhagavatam as it is, and not go away from such perfect and transcendental literatures. So, in order to kill Hiranyaksha, it was like playing with a doll and breaking it for so it says, my dear Vidura, I have explained to you the personality of Godhead's coming down as the first boar incarnation and killing it and killing in a great fight a demon of unprecedented prowess as if he were just a plaything. This has been narrated by me as I heard it from my predecessor, spiritual masters. That's the correct way to hear. You hear through the parampara by bona fide speakers. Okay, so text 33. Sri Sutta Goswami continued, my dear Brahmana, Shata, or Vidura, the great devotee of the Lord, achieved transcendental bliss by hearing the narration of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the authoritative source of the sage Kostarava or Maitreya, and he was very pleased. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. If anyone wants to derive transcendental pleasure by hearing the pastimes of the Lord, he must hear from the authoritative source, as explained here. Maitreya heard the narration from his bona fide spiritual master, and Vidura also heard from Maitreya. One becomes an authority simply by presenting whatever he has heard from his spiritual master, and one who does not accept a bona fide spiritual master cannot be an authority. So, one time a statement was made that that if you have a bona fide spiritual master, you'll know everything. So someone challenged that and said, "Well, does he know does he know calculus? Does he know differential equations? Does he know this? Does he know that?" But actually, it's whatever your guru knows, and the guru is only speaking about Krishna. So yes, you'll learn everything about Krishna, but you won't necessarily learn anything about differential equations. So we should not be misled by the statement, he knows everything. He knows everything that his guru has taught him. So that's real knowledge. If the spiritual master, just imagine like we accept Prabhupada as our number one authoritative source of knowledge, our spiritual knowledge. And look at all the books Prabhupada has written. So if we just read Prabhupada's books, we become educated in all knowledge. All knowledge means everything about Krishna and how to go back to Godhead. That's real knowledge. Everything else is not real knowledge, and it's not going to help you to go back to Godhead. It might help you to get a good job or something like that. But the real knowledge is how to liberate ourselves from the cycle of birth and death. So it says here, if anyone wants to derive transcendental pleasure by hearing the pastimes of the Lord, he must hear from the authoritative source, as explained here. Maitreya heard the narration from his bona fide spiritual master, and Vidura also heard from Maitreya. One becomes an authority simply by presenting whatever he has heard from his spiritual master. And one who does not accept a bona fide spiritual master cannot be an authority. This is clearly explained here. Now let's discuss what is a bona fide spiritual master. Well, first of all, a bona fide spiritual master has also a bona fide spiritual master, which is in the disciplic succession coming originally from Krishna to Brahma to Narada and so forth. That's who a bona fide spiritual master is. So the Satguru, is he a bona fide spiritual master? No, he's not. He's not in any bona fide disciplic succession. Have you ever heard about him having his disciplic succession?
I heard he had a guru.
Yeah, but you don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, he was telling that he has a guru Maharaj, but he's not revealed. Nowhere he revealed his name, I think. Yeah. Just after this controversies came, he started telling that he's having a guru.
Yeah. But he never said who it was.
Who?
Yeah. Okay, but we have a whole parampara. That's real guru, not just.
That's another big thing with the Mayavadis is that they don't want the Guru's name because then the brand won't exist.
Yeah, correct.
They don't want the guru's name.
Then they can't establish their own brand.
Oh, they want to make their own. They're the beginning of the sampradaya, in other words.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very
So, I
clever.
mean, and the definition of category Mayavadis, they're non-different from the Guru now. So
That's another way.
Yeah.
They're the reincarnation of the guru.
Yeah.
They're very clever people. You see, when you're attracted to someone like that, it's because you have committed, not you, but that's because the person has committed sinful activities. Therefore, they're attracted to fake people like that. And you see, there's hundreds, thousands of people attracted to them. Yeah, just like Hitler, so many people were attracted to him. That doesn't mean he's bona fide. Just because he can shout when he speaks. So in the same way, every guru has a certain, let's say, gimmick about themselves. And there was this one guru. What did he do? Yeah, uh, he was uh, he was famous because he could roll his body from one place to holy places. So when I say roll his body, like he would do a spinning his body instead of walking. He would put his head down and then not walk, but roll himself. So he was the rolling guru. So he was very famous for some time because he would always roll his body from one place to another. And okay, see, there was another so-called guru. He was called Pilot Guru because he used to be a Air India pilot. So they call him Pilot Guru. There's so many different gurus, right? But that doesn't mean they're real gurus, stuff. They have to be in a genuine disciplic succession. Number one, they have to follow the rules and regulation of Krishna consciousness. Number two, and so forth. There's so many qualifications that someone has to have to be a bona fide guru. Okay, so let's read this purport of Canto 3, Chapter 19, text 33.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to derive transcendental pleasure by hearing the pastimes of the Lord, he must hear from the authoritative source, as explained here. Maitreya heard the narration from his bona fide spiritual master, and Vidura also heard from Maitreya. One becomes an authority simply by presenting whatever he has heard from his spiritual master. And one who does not accept a bona fide spiritual master cannot be an authority. This is clearly explained here. If one wants to have transcendental pleasure, he must find a person with authority. It is also stated in the Bhagavatam that simply by hearing from an authoritative source with the ear and the heart, one can relish the pastimes of the Lord. So this is an interesting statement. You hear from an authoritative source with the ear and the heart. So how do you hear? Well, we know what it means to hear with the ear, but when it says and hear with the heart, that means you have to more or less forget everything else you've heard before, and with a clean slate. you hear from the devotee. Because we hear so many other things, in our life, and most of those things are misleading. A lot of things that we learn in school and here and there. So when it says hear with the ear and the heart, that means you're starting with a clean slate. You're forgetting everything else that you've heard previously, and you hear with a clean slate, and let the guru explain to you. And you'll see this when Prabhupada's lectures, he's redefining words that we know, but he's giving them the right definition. Okay, I'll give you an example. Look up yoga. What is the definition of yoga?
Maharaj, I looked for the Sadguru Guru.
Yeah.
One of the posts was mentioned. His name is Malari Halli Swami. He was taught Hatha Yoga at the age of 12.
Sadguru.
Mm.
At the age of 12, he learned from this other guy.
Yeah. Malari Halli Swami.
And he learned what? What did he learn?
Hatha Yoga.
Hatha Yoga. Well, okay, that's something.
Ayurveda and Siddha Science. Siddha Science.
Siddha Science. So, did you look up?
The Hindu spiritual and ascetic discipline, a part of which including breath control, simple meditation, and the adoption of specific bodily postures, is widely practiced for health and relaxation.
See, now this is a misleading definition. They don't mention anything about Krishna. They just talk about physical things, body things, nothing spiritual. Look at the second definition. What's the second definition say? If there is one.
The word yoga is derived from the Sanskrit root yuj, meaning to join or to yoke or to unite.
Okay, there's no mention at all of Krishna. Is there a third definition?
What is the deeper meaning of yoga? A further meaning of the word yoga is to attain what was previously unattainable.
Yeah, that's completely avoiding the real issue. Yeah, so see, most words are not correctly explained.
Many people view yoga as a connection or union between the body, mind, and soul.
Not a connection to God.
It is difficult to pinpoint the exact origins of yoga, but it has been traced back more than 5,000 years to northern India.
Not southern India. You see, these are all misleading statements. They're not actually bona fide. They don't mention Krishna, nothing. The only thing that sounded a little bit bona fide is 5,000 years ago. Yeah.
Somehow they related, but they don't want to mention.
Yeah, exactly. So you see, most of the definitions in the dictionary, and not most, but there are many definitions in the dictionary that are misleading. And it takes a long time to realize that, because you think, you want to have knowledge, you have to have a dictionary. Look up words in the dictionary. So just like yoga, so you looked up the definition of yoga, right? But it doesn't really tell you anything. There are many words like that in the dictionary that are not correctly defined. Okay, so by the way, it depends on which dictionary you read also. Like if you read the dictionary, the Britannica, sometimes it has much better explanations.
Maharaj, there is a question called, is it okay for Christians to do yoga as a platform used strictly for physical, mental, and emotional wellness with all spiritual references and implications stripped from them? yoga can benefit Christians in the same way that it benefits all practitioners, regardless of religious.
So no religion involved,
With all spiritual references and implications stripped.
right? In other words,
Pakistan, they banned yoga.
they what?
They banned yoga. Yeah, some places.
Yeah,
If
because
they
it's
do,
something
it's
that
called haram.
it's
Yeah.
something that's Hindu. That's why
Yes,
they
yes,
banned it.
that's what they tell.
There's so much hatred. Well, in a sense, the Muslims do yoga. You know, when they do their yamas, they stand up, and then they bow down, then they stand up.
Some places they did. I heard that some places that they have issued fatwa also. Whoever does that, and again they are against because Saudi people they do. They don't understand that. I mean, the Saudi why they are doing we don't know. They are also not supposed to follow. These people teach them.
Do what?
Pakistani people they teach Saudi people not to do yoga, Maharaj.
Oh, okay.
They don't like.
Yeah, there's chaos everywhere in this world today. But what do they mean by yoga? Yoga is not just, it's not a gymnastic thing. Look up the definition of yoga and see what it says. Does it say?
An Indian system of religious philosophy
Okay, that's wrong right there. It's not Indian.
soul with the divine spirit by means of concentration to the exclusion of all senses.
Okay. Second. Here. Uh, yeah, yoga means how you connect to Krishna. And it's referring basically to bhakti. Although there's other names, like hatha yoga, this yoga, and that yoga, but the real purpose is not bodily postures, but it's coming closer to Krishna. Okay, so uh, there is such thing as bogus yoga and bona fide yoga. So let's take a look at what it says here. 1928. 1928. What does it say? Bhagavad Gita, in my Bhagavad Gita, 1928. Rama continued. He was struck by a forefoot of the Lord, whom yogis seeking freedom from their unreal material bodies meditate upon in seclusion in mystic trance while gazing on his countenance. This crest jewel of Diti's son has cast off his mortal coil. Prabhupada writes, the process of yoga is very clearly described in this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is said here that the ultimate end of the yogis and mystics who perform meditation is to get rid of this material body. Therefore, they meditate in secluded places to attain yogic trance. Yoga has to be performed in a secluded place, not in public or in a demonstration on stage, as nowadays practiced by many so-called yogis. Real yoga aims at ridding one of the material body. Yoga practice is not intended to keep the body fit and young. Such advertisements of so-called yoga are not approved by any standard method. Particularly mentioned in this verse is the word yam, or unto whom, indicating that meditation should be targeted on the personality of Godhead. Even if one concentrates his mind on the form of the Lord, that is also yoga, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. One who concentrates his mind constantly in meditation upon the personality of Godhead in one of his many varieties of forms is the first class yogi, and he can very easily attain trance simply by meditating upon the form of the Lord. If one is able to continue such meditation on the Lord's form at the time of one's death, one is liberated from the mortal body and is transferred to the kingdom of God. This opportunity was given to the demon by the Lord, and therefore Brahma and other demigods were astonished. In other words, the perfection of yoga practice can be attained by a demon also if he is simply kicked by the Lord. So you see, now this is a real definition of yoga. It's you meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's real yoga. Now, do they teach that in school? Well, oftentimes they'll say, first thing they say is, this is not something religious. Right? This is, for your health or for your welfare or whatever, physical welfare or mental welfare. So Prabhupada says, real yoga aims at ridding one of the material body. Have you ever heard that anywhere? No. So you see, there's too many misleading types of definitions. You read the definition of yoga. Read that again. So here Prabhupada says, real yoga aims at ridding one of the material body.
This Oxford definition.
Yeah.
Hindu spiritual and ascetic discipline, a part of which including breath control, simple meditation, and the adoption of specific bodily postures is widely practiced for health and relaxation.
And what does Prabhupada say? Yoga practice is not intended to keep the body fit and young. Such advertisements of so-called yoga are not approved by any standard method. You see?
Yeah.
Completely opposite.
Complete opposite. So this is a good example of misleading so-called philosophy. Real yoga aims at ridding one of the material body. Yoga practice is not intended to keep the body fit and young. Such advertisements of so-called yoga are not approved by any standard method. Particularly mentioned in this verse is the word yam, or unto whom, indicating that meditation should be targeted on the personality of Godhead. Even if one concentrates his mind on the Bor form of the Lord, that is also yoga. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, one who concentrates his mind constantly in meditation upon the personality of Godhead in one of his many varieties of forms is the first class yogi, and he can very easily attain trance simply by meditating upon the form of the Lord. If one is able to continue such meditation on the Lord's form at the time of one's death, one is liberated from this mortal body, and is transferred to the kingdom of God. And this opportunity was given to the demon by the Lord, and therefore Brahma and other demigods were astonished. In other words, the perfection of yoga practice can be attained by a demon also if he is simply kicked by the Lord. So this is very interesting. You see how misleading things are in modern worlds. They basically what they're doing in colloquial language is they dumb down everything to the lowest level, and people, think that they know what they're talking about, but they're not really explaining what yoga is. Therefore, we have to not be misled. That's why we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam with Prabhupada's purpose. Otherwise, it's very easy to be misled. Like, for example, If we just read the verse, Canto 3, chapter 19, verse 28, Brahma continued, he was struck by a forefoot of the Lord, whom yogis seeking freedom from their unreal material bodies meditate upon in seclusion in mystic trance. While gazing on his countenance, this crest jewel of Diti's sons has cast off his mortal coil. Well, if you just read that verse, you wouldn't really understand much. But if you read the purport, you would understand a lot. So the purport says, the process of yoga is very clearly described in this verse. What? Where is it described? Let me read it again. The verse says, Brahma continued, he was struck by a forefoot of the Lord, in that incarnation, whom yogis seeking freedom from their unreal material bodies meditate upon in seclusion in mystic trance. While gazing on his countenance, this crest jewel of Diti's sons has cast off his mortal coil. So, does it say anywhere that the real purpose of yoga is to get rid of your material body? I don't think so. On the contrary, it says to, improve your breathing and make your body stronger and so forth. It's relaxation, yeah. That means that they meditate with their eyes closed and they finally fall asleep. By the way, that's not true either. You're not supposed to close your eyes and you're not supposed to keep them open. You have to half close and half open your eyes, which is very difficult to do, right? Usually you think either you close your eyes or you open your eyes. But when you do yoga, you have to half open them, which is not easy to do. I mean, you just half open your eyes. How do you do that? I don't know. Can you half open your eyes? No.
Distractions will be there.
Huh?
We get distracted.
Yeah. So you see, it's not really easy to do real yoga. And here it says in this verse, the process of yoga is very clearly described in this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is said here that the ultimate end of the yogis and mystics who perform meditation is to get rid of this material body. Is that said anywhere in the definition? No, not at all. In fact, if anything, it's saying, how to maintain the body, right? Therefore, they meditate in secluded places to attain yogic trance. Is that what the yogis do today? I mean, you see all these yogis that they're not in secluded places. They're making money and demonstrating their so-called yoga practice in public. Yoga has to be performed in a secluded place to attain yogic trance. Yoga has to be performed in a secluded place, not in public or in a demonstration on stage, as nowadays practiced by many so-called yogis. Real yoga aims at ridding one of the material body. Yoga practice is not intended to keep the body fit and young. Such advertisements of so-called yoga are not approved by any standard method. Particularly mentioned in this verse is the word yam, or unto whom, indicating that meditation should be targeted on the personality of Godhead. Even if one concentrates his mind on the Bore form of the Lord, that is also yoga. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, one who concentrates his mind constantly in meditation upon the personality of Godhead in one of his many varieties of forms is the first-class yogi, and he can very easily attain trance simply by meditating upon the form of the Lord. If one is able to continue such meditation on the Lord's form at the time of one's death, one is liberated from this mortal body and is transferred to the kingdom of God. This opportunity was given to the demon by the Lord, and therefore Brahma and other demigods were astonished. In other words, the perfection of yoga practice can be attained by a demon also if he is simply kicked by the Lord. Well, this is correct information about yoga. And you can see that today there's all kinds of misleading definitions of what yoga is.
The UN page, Maharaj,
Huh?
regarding the Yoga Day,
Yeah.
it is celebrated on June 21st. What
Yoga Day. Okay.
Yeah.
International Yoga.
Day.
What do they do?
Yoga, a transformative practice, represents the harmony of mind and body, the balance between thought and action, and the unity of restraint and fulfillment. It integrates the body, mind, spirit, and soul, offering a holistic approach to health and well being that brings peace to our hectic lives. Its power to transform is what we celebrate on this special day.
Transform, yeah, into a what? Into a pretzel or something. You see how these definitions are all misleading.
The UN page.
And people, they make a living by teaching yoga. Actually, they should tell the truth. It's just a gymnastic practice. It has nothing to do with real yoga. Yes.
No, apparently, UN accepted this after Modi proposed, and then 177 other countries endorsed it.
They accepted what?
International Yoga Day.
International Yoga Day. And what do they do on this day?
All of them do yoga.
No, all of them do boga, not yoga. They're sitting there, silently meditating or something like that, with their legs crossed. You're not even supposed to close your eyes. You have to keep them half open, half closed. If you read what is real yoga, you realize that what they're doing today is just a joke.
They do more Surya Namaskars, Maharaj, in the name of yoga. And last they do meditation, I think. Yeah.
Surya Namaskar. Okay, well, you could say that's a gymnastic practice. Yeah. Okay, so here Prabhupada says, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, one who concentrates his mind constantly in meditation upon the personality of Godhead in one of his many varieties of forms is the first class yogi. Here it is. And he can very easily attain trance simply by meditating upon the form of the Lord. If one is able to continue such meditation on the Lord's form at the time of one's death, one is liberated from the mortal body and is transformed to the kingdom of God. So that's the real meaning of yoga. Whereas Prabhupada says, yoga practice is not intended to keep the body fit and young. Such advertisements of so-called yoga are not approved by any standard method. So why don't you look up some yoga schools and see what they're offering as to be so-called yoga. They obviously promise something, so let's see what they say.
So Maharaj, yoga practice is not intended, means it is a byproduct. Keep the body fit and young, but that is not the main intention.
Where are you reading from?
No, here only, from this Bhagavatam only. Maharaj.
No, okay, but I want to know what the yoga so-called teachers or schools
So there's
say.
so many yoga schools.
Okay.
One is the Hatha Yoga.
Yeah.
And the focus is the physical postures and breathing exercises.
Okay.
And Hatha Yoga is often seen as the foundation of other styles of yoga. And then there is Ashtanga Yoga by Pattabhi Joyce.
Well, what?
The founder is K. Pattabhi Joyce. And then, so they focus on a set of sequence of postures combined with specific breathing techniques called vinyasas. And the goal is to purify the body and the mind. And then,
Oh, one second. What it says here. Real yoga aims at ridding one of the material body. Yoga practice is not intended to keep the body fit and young. Okay, go ahead.
yeah, this is Vinyasa Yoga. Vinyasa Yoga is flowing from one pose to another in coordination with the breath. The goal is to increase strength, flexibility, and mental focus. Then there is
It has nothing to do with real yoga. Okay, go ahead.
next is Iyengar Yoga. This Iyengar Yoga is the exact opposite. The goal is to develop strength, flexibility, and stability.
It's Iyengar yoga. Okay.
And then there is Bikram Yoga.
Mhm.
Bikram Yoga, it's a fixed sequence of 26 postures practiced in a heated room. The goal is to detoxify the body and improve flexibility and strength.
Well, that has nothing to do with yoga. Absolutely nothing. And by the way, these are all Indians. They're naming their particular type of yoga after themselves. Iyengar yoga. And what was the other one?
Then Bikram Yoga.
Yeah, Vikram yoga. They just name it after themselves and make something up.
So restorative yoga is good, Maharaj.
What?
Restorative yoga.
Restorative?
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
there
you
is a
live for the
restorative
last
yoga.
15 minutes of yoga class or dream of savasana all day, this you'll love a restoration yoga class. 15 minutes you do a savasana, that is restorative yoga.
You do what?
Just savasana means they'll sleep, Maharaj.
Oh,
They'll lie
okay.
down. That's it.
Shavasana. Shava means dead body.
Like that, they'll be like
But they do that every night.
that.
How can you say it's yoga? People they start snoring and whatever, at night. Yeah. Yeah, you see how everything has become dumbed down to lower than the lowest.
They're pulling each one and making some different
Yeah.
marketing. Iyengar yoga is also there.
Yeah, and they just create all these names. There's this one lady in New York. You could look this up. She was teaching
I think we have Srijana Mataji
question.
raising hand because she's a yoga teacher. So
Okay. What's her point? What's your
Hare,
question?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. It's not a question. I just wanted to say. So, the the father of modern yoga is considered as T. Krishnamacharya. He has spent around certain number of years in caves and learned from his guru in Himalayas. Well, the process was like yama niyama, all of it till samadhi. But when he brought it back into the society, it was kind of joined with gymnastics. So when he presented to the world, it came down into more from asana point and pranayama and became body focused. And the Patabi Joyce, BKS Iyengar, his own son, so they all are students of T. Krishnamacharya who got separated like in that process, and they came up with their own brand. So
Exactly.
BK, yeah. So BKS Iyengar is the brother-in-law of T. Krishnamacharya. And he had a issue with the body. So the reason the yoga became very predominant at a certain time is people who had respiratory issues and physical disability in small extent, with this process of toxic release, it got better. Like, so that became a another level of what do you call attraction. So I just wanted to add on to the back, and the restorative yoga is a subline of that. Like, if you can go down, there is more like in yoga. Again, it is like from the teacher, you don't take everything. And for example, in our process, if someone goes down and says, only let's do mantra, right? And that
Yeah.
becomes a subcategory. And people who take only chanting, that becomes a subcategory. But the whole process has kind of diluted.
Kind of. It's completely diluted.
Yes.
The whole purpose of yoga, as it says here in the purport, real yoga, Prabhupada says this in his purport, Canto 3, Chapter 19, verse number 28. Real yoga aims at ridding one of the material body. Yoga practice is not intended to keep the body fit and young. Such advertisements of so-called yoga are not approved by any standard method. Particularly mentioned in this verse is the word yam, or unto whom, indicating that meditation should be targeted on the personality of God. So here in 2 or 3 sentences, Prabhupada completely destroys, or what you would say, he completely debunks what all the modern yogi schools are saying.
So he clearly wrote, Maharaj, yoga practice is not intended to keep the body fit and young, but that became the marketing, this one, and
Yeah,
made that one
exactly.
the intention.
It's complete opposite. And then yoga has to be performed in a secluded place, not in public or in a demonstration on stage, as nowadays practiced by many so-called yogis. Real yoga aims at ridding one of the material body. Yoga practice is not intended to keep the body fit and young. Such advertisements of so-called yoga are not approved by any standard method. Particularly mentioned in this verse is the word yam, or unto whom, indicating that meditation should be targeted on the personality of God. Well, most yoga schools nowadays, they start off by saying, our yoga has nothing to do with religion. So in other words, it has nothing to do with meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Focus on the breath, most of them.
Yeah. Okay. So here we are in this modern world where everything is turned upside down, right? And everything is misinterpreted, or there are false definitions of it, of things, like the word yoga.
Thing is made a commodity,
It's sell and make money.
a commercial.
Yes, that's a
So,
fact.
so Maharaj, do we completely reject even doing anything? Like, some people, they have physical, I mean, while we are with the understanding that, we're doing the bhakti yoga and so on, like we're in our meditation, our chanting and everything is not compromised. Like, do we reject yoga completely, physical yoga and all, or
The asanas.
asanas with, or is it okay to do them in parallel?
Well,
While you
let
are
me just ask a question here. Is there anywhere in the Shastra it said that Lord Chaitanya did yoga? Is there anywhere in the Shastra that said that Krishna did yoga? No. Did Prabhupada do yoga? No. Did any of the acharyas do yoga? Did Ramanujacharya do yoga?
Prabhupada was going on walks.
Yeah, he would walk every day. And that's because one time, this is something Brahmananda Maharaj said when he was talking about Prabhupada. He said that one man met Prabhupada and he told him that, you should take a walk every day. And from that point on, Prabhupada said, I'm going to take a walk every day now. And I started walking every morning. So if he did any type thing that even comes close to yoga, it was that walk every morning, right? And he took every day he would take a morning walk. And it was a lot of fun to go with him because he would stop and talk about Krishna consciousness and then walk some more and then he would challenge someone to take the part of a demon and he would debunk everything that person said. So the morning walks with Prabhupada were a lot of fun. Okay, so now if you read Canto 3, chapter 19, verse number 28, it says, real yoga aims at ridding one, or meaning getting rid of, the material body. Yoga practice is not intended to keep the body fit and young. Such advertisements of so-called yoga are not approved by any standard method, particularly mentioned in this verse. So here we see statements that are being made that are completely against or contrary to what real yoga is. So the process of yoga is very clearly described in this verse. That means Canto 3, chapter 19, text 28. In this verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said here that the ultimate end of the yogis and mystics who perform meditation is to get rid of this material body. Therefore, they meditate in secluded places to attain yogic trance. Yoga has to be performed in a secluded place, not in public or in a demonstration on stage, as nowadays practiced by many so-called yogis. Real yoga aims at ridding one or getting rid of the material body. Yoga practice is not intended to keep the body fit and young. Such advertisements of so-called yoga are not approved by any standard method. Okay, so there you are. This is completely debunking what's going on today.
Yes, yes, right.
Yeah. They have these yoga schools where there's 50, 100 people, and then you have this one guy that's walking around looking to see if their postures are correct. Yeah, why don't you look that up? Look that up. You can see there's maybe 50 people in the class, and they're assuming some kind of a posture, and the yoga teacher's walking around and correcting their posture. And that's supposed to be yoga. If you tell people, if you say, if you have an advertisement, well, this is the real yoga. The real goal is to rid yourself of the material body. You think anyone would join that yoga practice? No.
They won't come near us.
They would run away. Yeah. When it says get rid, let's see here. When it says it's intended to keep the real yoga aims at ridding one of the material body. Well, yeah, but the idea is you rid yourself of the material body so you can have your spiritual body, which is eternal. You go back to Godhead. That part, they didn't say that here, but that's what the real purpose is.
We can open a shop for real yoga, reading one of the material body.
What?
You can put a board, real yoga,
To get rid of the material body. Yeah.
No one comes there.
Nobody.
So, Maharaj,
Yes.
our devotees use the
Yoga.
yoga word for capturing some Western audience.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
festivals like the cooking, yoga, meditation,
Right.
they use those words. Is it okay to use those words and attract people and then explain them about that yoga?
Have they really attracted anybody? Did any of those people that they attracted, did any of them become devotees? And sometimes devotees say, oh no, of course, so and so became a devotee by coming to our yoga practice and so forth. But that's what I'm saying. Did Lord Chaitanya do yoga? No. Did Krishna do yoga? No. Did Prabhupada do yoga? No. What was his yoga? What did Prabhupada do? He simply was chanting Hare Krishna, right? And taking prasadam. So is that a type of yoga? Well, it depends on which definition of yoga you take. The word yoga, Sanskrit, means connecting. Connecting to who? You connect to God. So real yoga aims at ridding one of the material body. Yoga practice is not intended to keep the body fit and young. Okay. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, one who concentrates his mind constantly in meditation upon the personality of Godhead in one of his many varieties of forms is the first class yogi. And he can very easily attain trance simply by meditating upon the form of the Lord. If one is able to continue such meditation on the Lord's form at the time of one's death, one is liberated from the mortal body and is transformed to the kingdom of God.
Maharaj, what is meditating on the form of the Lord? How do we do that?
Well, you could have a picture of the Lord like you have these pictures here. Take any one of those pictures and meditate on it.
Or go to the temple, look at the
Go to the
deity.
temple, meditate on the deities. Yeah.
So meditating is like doing something for the Lord or just sitting and looking at him?
No, it's doing your service for the Lord. Yeah. You that is meditation. You're meditating on cooking for the Lord, meditating on chanting your rounds, for the pleasure of the Lord. You meditate on Harinam Sankirtan. They're all types of meditation where your mind is focused on the Lord. That's the real purpose of meditation. Focus the mind on the Lord. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, one who concentrates his mind constantly in meditation upon the personality of Godhead in one of his many varieties of forms is the first class yogi. And he can very easily attain trance simply by meditating upon the form of the Lord. If one is able to continue such meditation on the Lord's form at the time of one's death, one is liberated from the mortal body and is transferred to the kingdom of God. There it is. This is, if someone asks you a question, what does yoga mean? Well, you go to Canto 3, chapter 19, verse 28. 3:19:28. And it explains what is real yoga and what is not yoga. Okay, so let's see, what time is it? 7:35. Or is it 6? No, 35. Are there any questions? Now, the reason we're going over this is is to be able to understand that most things that are being defined in the dictionary, not most things, some things, are completely misleading. The dictionary is not really giving the right definition. And that's why Prabhupada, when he was preaching, he would give the right definition of things. And yoga is one example, right? And here he says, real yoga aims at ridding one of the material body. Yoga practice is not intended to keep the body fit and young. Well, that eliminates, almost all the yoga schools that are in the world today. That's right. And this is called misinformation. It's information, but it's misleading. And if we don't have Prabhupada's purports, then we wouldn't think that we're being misled. This is the tragedy of the modern world. There's so much misinformation. There's a lot of information, but oftentimes it's misleading. And because of that, people waste their time doing things that lead to nowhere. It's just like there's a statement like the bridge that goes nowhere. So sometimes politicians, they get a lot of money and they build a bridge and they, they claim that, oh, I built this bridge, but the bridge goes nowhere. It's just like, if it goes from Sammamish, you build a bridge that goes from Sammamish to some forest. Well, when you get on that bridge and you go to the end of the bridge, you're in nowhere. It's the bridge to nowhere. Look that up. The bridge to nowhere. So sometimes the politicians get these big grants and they build bridges that go nowhere. The bridge to nowhere.
There is a bridge by that name, Maharaj.
Really?
Yeah. Bridge to Nowhere is an arch bridge that was built in 1936 north of Azusa, California, United States, in the San Gabriel Mountains. It spans the east fork of the San Gabriel River and was meant to be part of a road connecting the San Gabriel Valley with Wrightwood, California.
But it didn't do that?
It's a bridge.
No, but why does it say that it's the bridge to nowhere?
Name of the bridge.
No. The East Fork Road was still under construction when it was washed out during the Great Flood of March 1938. The East Fork Road project was abandoned as a result of the
Flood.
floods, leaving the bridge forever stranded in the middle of what is now the Sheep Mountain Wilderness. Parts of the old asphalt roadway can still be found along the East Fork Trail, which leads to the bridge. And there are still a number of concrete slabs which form the foundations of the destroyed bridges to the west of the bridge to nowhere.
The bridge to nowhere. There it is.
Sign along the trail 30 feet east of the John Seals Bridge, which announces the start of the Sheep Mountain Wilderness, is resting on the old roadbed.
So it was never constructed.
It was not completed and it was never.
Not completed, yeah.
There is an
Same thing in New Zealand.
There is an idiom, Maharaj, a road to nowhere.
Yeah, the road to nowhere. That's called Mayavad philosophy, the road to nowhere. Okay, so now we learned about the bridge to nowhere. It's called Mayavad philosophy. Hare Krishna. Where's the Srila Prabhupada ki jai? Someone asked you today, what did you learn in class today? I said, well, I learned about the bridge to nowhere. The bridge to nowhere. I said, what? The bridge to nowhere. That's called Mayavad philosophy, the bridge to nowhere.